32. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with introductions. We'll start.
My name is Claudia Quesada, I'm lead.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Our next order of business is old business. Lady, do we have old business to discuss?
There's just a couple of projects that we've had ongoing. The Boca Chica water line is still, well, it's moving forward. And so it might be in the final stages. And so we'll be presenting an update to customers. We also have one, I'm gonna hit myself, but we do have events for this Friday. We have a community tour and we'll also be presenting our what else? I think that's all I have for now. Did start distributing the Tabasco Equity Fund. And we'll be more about this with Monica.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any new business? Anyone? Okay, we'll go on to the next order of business, which is the Tenasca Equity Fund update. Ms. Monica?
Good afternoon. I'm Monica Cavazos, Director of Finance. So part of, as you all know, the Tenasca Equity Fund, we had set aside $29 million between April of 2013 and September of 2016 that was to be used for debt service during the construction phase of the electric generation plant. The PUB, so that money has been set aside and has been in the improvement fund and reserved ever since then, since 2016. The PUB board approved the addition of the interest earned on that $29 million from 13 through March of 2023. So the total amount is a 31.35 million that was distributed or is being distributed. So there were some key decisions in developing the plan. One was that it was going to be issued to electric system customers who the funds were collected from between April 2013 and September 2016. And that's what we refer to as the TEF timeframe. The refunds were to be issued based on each account's total consumption in kilowatt hours as a percentage of the total consumption during that TEF timeframe. The refund was calculated for all customers, including the city of Brownsville and Brownsville PUB, And we also had legal opinions that we could offset the refunds against any monies owed to PUB. People, there's a lot of movement in and out of the system. Customers come and go, and sometimes they leave owing PUB money. And so we have those write-offs of those balances that they left unpaid. So we do have the right to apply those owed for the TNASCA Equity Fund to those monies owed to PUB. We also then have damage claims. Sometimes, somebody will hit a utility pole, or they'll crash into a fire hydrant, or, different things. They may damage PUB property, or they're digging in their yard, but they hit our lines. And so those damage claims, those types of things can also be, we can offset their refund against any monies owed to PUB. So those were some of the key decisions in developing the plan. Once we developed the plan, we had to take that plan to our PUB board, which they approved it on May the 1st, and the city commission approved the plan on May the 2nd. So customers who were active as of May 1st, 2023, received a credit on their bill for the amount of their refund. The credits were applied on May the 8th, and the customers, as of May the 8th, they could access their accounts online and see the amount of their credit, and they'll see on their next, we have 20 billing cycles. And so on their billing cycle after May 8th, then they see that reflected on their bills. In addition to that, the PUB and the city, they were each entitled to refunds as well, but both governing bodies voted to pool their refunds and distribute them equally to all of the active customers, all of the customers who were active during the TEF timeframe and who were still active as of May 1st, 2023. This resulted in a credit of $48.91 per customer, which was also applied to all accounts on May the 8th. So that, some customers, depending on your usage, some customers had very minimal credits due to them. They may have had $2, $5. And so they felt that this was a more equitable way to give those people a little bit more money. And so they applied it equally to residential and commercial customers. So, a individual customer in a home, in a small home got 1 cent, and BISD got $48.91. So that was applied equally to all customer classes. Then we also have customers who were active during that time frame, April 2013 to September 2016, who were no longer active as of May 1st. So we don't have an account to apply the credit on. So that's approximately 27,000 inactive customers. They're going to be receiving their refund in the form of a check in accordance with PUB's current policies. Our current policies do say that if a refund is less than $1, so 99 cents and below, we don't process that refund. The cost outweighs the refund itself. And so those were also applied to the bad debt expense. That was a very nominal amount. But all of the other 27,000 plus checks, we are going to start printing them this coming week. And it's going to take probably 6 to 7 days to complete that process. Just for perspective, in a typical year, we issue accounts payable checks through the entire year. This is 27,000 checks in 1 week. So it's a significant undertaking. So it is going to take us, we have set some goals. We have a whole set of process of work instructions established for this process. And it should take 6 to 7 days conservatively to complete that. So they will be mailed out as we complete 1 day's checks. They will be mailed out. And so customers should start to see those checks coming in their mailboxes within the next, 2 weeks after that period. We do anticipate a lot of those checks will come back to us. They are, they were sent to the last known address we have, or if somebody has sent in a change of address, then we're sending it to that new address. We do have the TEF inquiries email address. We've been posting information on social media and on our websites and that to notify customers that they can call us and contact us to give us their correct address. And we'll have that process, ongoing for months. While we have those checks that come back, we'll still be trying to get those delivered to the appropriate customers. So this is just very estimates by customer class. So we have the residential, the commercial, again, the city and PUB. The average residential user of 1,000 kWh user would get approximately $212. Again, it's going to vary These are just estimates by class. It's going to vary based on each customer's actual consumption during that period. So it's a total of 71,000 customers. And you see the 918,000 that the city of Brownsville was entitled to and the 762,000 that PUB was entitled to. That 1.6 million was what was pooled, and that's the $48.91 additional allocation that all customers received. And this shows you here. So that went to equally to 30,000 plus residential customers, approximately 3,800 commercial customers. But they all, 34,000 customers all received the same $48.91. So those are all customers who were here during the Tenaska timeframe and who were still active as of May the 1st. So that's it. And, you know,
What is the difference between commercial non-demand and demand?
it has to do with the energy and the demand, the usage, their usage and their, I'm not an engineer, Marilyn might know. Demand versus non-demand. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. I was going to ask how we were communicating with this to our clients, but I did see on social media some posts. But PUB customers are seeing that too.
There's a Tenaska landing page on our website, and we're communicating all this on social media. We have issued press releases, and we have established that. And we did as part of our presentations to the city, we did also include that information on the email address that we set up specifically for these inquiries. And so, yeah, we are trying all of our normal methods.
From the purpose of we approach the mark, that'd be great.
Oh, yes, okay. So for customers that do receive a bill, there is a note on the bill that explains what it is. And there are two separate line items on the actual bill. One says TEF refund credit, and one says PUB and city allocation. And so they see the $48.91 separate from whatever their standard refund was. Then we also have a similar note that's appearing on the bill, on the hard bill itself, also on the checks. And so when those checks go out, it explains to them that it is a refund based on the Tenaska Equity Fund that was collected. And so there is so they don't just see a check from PUB and wonder, well, what's this for? There's notes on there as well for them.
So all the customers on May 8th got their credit. I mean, we didn't do it in phases. We were able to do everything at once.
All of the active customers, all the customers who were still active on May 1, all received it on the same date. So they won't, if they get a hard copy invoice bill from us, they won't see it until that goes out in the mail, but they can access that information online as of May the 8th.
In addition to that, as part of the communication, Clady did reach out to media outlets as well as the radio and out in the field conducting interviews so we could try to disseminate the information once it was approved by the city as well. So we did the first week that happened, and then that's when we started seeing the credits after that. So we really tried to push this hard. We also have the Q&A that we continue to update as we're receiving questions with customer service. So again, we're trying to push it as much as we can, so customers are aware.
Have we seen an influx of customer calls since we started the distribution?
Nothing.
Yes, we have. And we realized that was going to happen. So getting in front of it, that's why we really relied on the PR team to help disseminate that information. But we also set up that TEF inquiry. So folks that didn't want to call, they wanted to email us, whether it be an update on their address or whatever it may be, we could handle them there. But yes, we have seen a little bit of an increase. A lot of the times customers are calling in for other issues. But while we have them on the phone, usually they'll bring up the topic. But to answer your question directly, yes, we have.
Okay. Thank you.
I think most PUB employees were getting calls and questions from family and friends. as
Yeah.
well. I know I have received multiple calls from people, so.
Same here. Quick question this is a great process and I hope customers are taking advantage of it. What happens to checks that are maybe about, do you send out, they get returned to you? Do you hold on to that check or
Yes.
do it gets canceled eventually?
And so our normal process is that after 90 days, if a check hasn't been cashed,
Yeah.
we will void it, but we are going to extend that period for these checks only. And we won't void those checks until after 180 days. The checks, that's for any check that did not come back to us.
Okay,
If a check comes back to us and we get a new address, we'll mail that check back out to the correct address. Now, if we have checks that were returned and we don't have an address, we are going to hold on to those checks. And in July of 2025, per state laws, if those checks, those funds still remain uncollected, then we have to escheat that money to the state of Texas. But they will hold that money. I mean, so that money doesn't go away. They don't lose it. They can come back in 5 years and that money will still be on record for them.
very good.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
We, we make every effort we can to get the money back to the right customers.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Monica. Thank you, Eddie, for
Thank you.
answering our questions. We appreciate that. And then thank you to all the PUB employees that had to work through this process. I know it was a lot of work. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is water wastewater community tour. Louise?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Luis Larraga. I'm the Senior Communications and Public Relations Coordinator. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the community tour that we're holding here in the upcoming days. So the BPUB holds 2 annual tours, one in the fall and one in the spring. The one in the fall, which is in October, is part of the Public Power Month. And the one in the spring is usually in May and to coincide with Drinking Water Month. The purpose of these tours is to share information with our stakeholders on any issues, projects, and achievements, and really to improve their knowledge and support of BPUB. What we find is after these tours that customers, I guess you could say, are unaware of everything that goes on, in the facilities to deliver the services to their homes or to their businesses. And so it gives them a peek, behind the curtain, and they get to see what the process is like. As I mentioned, the one in the spring focuses on the water systems. It's coming up here in a few days, May 19th. We will start at the 511 Center at 8 a.m. And if anybody is interested in still signing up, they can do so at the website, brownsville-pub.com/tours. And that will be open here till probably tomorrow. And then, so what the tour will be a tour of some facilities. First, we'll start, our first stop will be the Southmost Regional Water Authority. So it'll be a desalination plant and what the process is to take the brackish groundwater and turn it into potable water. Tour is led by Jose Armando Garza and Jacob Galvan. Our second stop is at the North Wastewater Treatment Plant, or the Robindale Wastewater Treatment Plant. That tour will cover the treatment process of the wastewater, as well as some of the technology that's used for UV and odor control. And so that will be led by Mr. Luis Bennett, Victor Martinez, and Javier Aguirre. Our third stop is at the Old City Cemetery. This is the Resaca Restoration project site. Mr. Juan Degollado, the Resaca maintenance foreman, will be showing the community members both the upgrades on the Resaca, as well as I believe we'll be able to take a peek dredging site or where they're offloading. So It should be fairly interesting. And finally, the last stop is the water treatment plant number 1. And coincide with that, we will also take a trip to the river to look at the river intake and some of the reservoirs where we currently hold water. And that will be led by Mr. Daniel Tamez and Guadalupe Garcia. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I do want to add a couple of things, and this is important. If you all get to go to the river pump intakes, our board has approved of one of our engineering projects to redesign our river, our river pump intakes, and it's a significant improvement for us. I don't have the exact dates, but they're probably about 90, 100 years old pumps station that's there. And that is where all of our water that comes in for the city, not all of our water, I should say, our surface water comes from the Amistad and Falcons. It takes 7 days for it to get here. So it's very important for us to do that. We're one of the last intakes from there, and that's what fills in our supply for then from there transported to our other water treatment facilities. And so that project in itself was awarded this year for our board to do a design. And so we'll have other projects. If you guys are interested in any of our CIPs, we can have that as a future agenda item. Some of the other water projects that we're doing here that you're going to get to see, I think it's important for the community, is the Resaca restoration. And this is a course of a 16-year project, but if any of those contracts is extended, we're leveraging dollars. And the reason we say that is that we have been awarded a 65-35 match. So the Resaca fee that is enabled unto all the residents help us, this ecosystem restoration project that helps for I'm sure you've heard some of the presentations for not only the ecosystem, but the drainage that for the city, improved water, and also, it's cleaning up our resacas and being able to do that. It's 1% of that type of system is all of the United States. So this is something of national interest and very important for our community that is pretty much like a Save Our Resacas type of thing. And we have this beautiful, delta that we're been preserving for many years. And we're wanting to make sure that that keeps on there. I just wanted to add those few thoughts on some of those projects that we have coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll definitely have updates here on PubCap as soon as those projects get going. I did want to mention, it'll be part of the presentation later on in the PubCap meeting. The CCR, the Consumer Confidence Report, goes out annually, and people will start receiving it on the 24th. But if you haven't toured the tours, I do encourage you to sign up until tomorrow, and that will some time to put the materials together for the next attendees. So let me know if you're interested.
I signed up, so
Yes, we got you.
I'll be there. I'll see you.
Yes.
Excited about water,
Yes. No, it's going to be interesting. Water.
water and wastewater.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, tours are super interesting. You learn a lot and get to ask questions of the people that are in charge of those departments. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic, which is public comments. Do we have any public comments, lady?
We don't have any public comments today.
Okay. I do have a question. Wanted to know what the water levels are looking like at Amistad and Falcon. How are we doing with that? I know we've gotten rain lately, so hopefully that's helped.
Right, the last update that we received, which I believe was 28.9. Is that accurate? Yeah, that's the last update that we received. We do anticipate and hope that we see an increase in our reservoir levels, so we will be communicating that. However, we still are encouraging people to conserve water. Just because you see water here and a lot of rain here, it doesn't mean that it's raining where it needs to rain, right? So we are still encouraging and pushing out communications in regards to water conservation, but we are also communicating as soon as we receive those reservoir updates, we are updating social media to reflect that. That way people can see that as we're getting the updates, we're pushing it out as well.
What stage are we currently at?
We are on stage one. We have not activated stage two. To activate stage two, it would require our general manager and CEO, Ms. Marilyn Gilbert, in collaboration with the City of Brownsville mayor, to make a decision based on a couple of triggers that can occur. One of them is that the reservoirs hit 25%. So we're pretty close to that, and we were pretty close. We were closer earlier in months past, right? So we're doing a little bit better, but we're still way below years prior. I think at this time in past years or in March, we were at about 40%. So we have always been in stage one, because in order to be out of stage one, you have to hit 51%, and we haven't done that in a while. So yes, we do ask the community to continue to conserve.
How often do we get those updates?
It depends. They come from every 2 weeks, around 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They come to Mr. Rene Mariscal, who then disseminates the information internally, and then we push it out. But it varies. It's not always on a 2-week period. So it can vary between 2 weeks and even a month sometimes. It's not always 2 weeks.
There's also going to have a presentation during the lunch portion of the tour. It's going to be talking about the drought and showing more figures, just giving you an
Great.
I just want to give you a little bit of updates on some of the things of importance. We did receive a $5 million grant project that came in on our water smart meters thing. So some communication from our PR department has gone out, I believe, on the water smart meters, or one statement. Okay, so you'll see communication from the public information on that. And so we are very excited on that, because that means that that's money that get frees up to do other maintenance for the community. We're actively pursuing other avenues for granting. So that what that means again is we reduce funds. We're also working on our system resiliency programs and other areas, and hopefully the Department of Energy will allocate some for our community going forward. But we'll let you guys know when any of those funding opportunities come in forward for that. So I do want to take this time, and maybe at a future time, we did do a presentation on the storm activities and everything that happened in the last couple of times to our board, and I'm going to volunteer our electrical engineering department and the two of that. But I think it's important for the community to know all of the activities that have been prepared by our staff. And of course, a rain like this, a lot of the times it's, people don't realize that we get struck by lightning on a lot of the different poles. And as some of you are aware, there were some tornadoes that hit our neighboring community. And we're very fortunate that we also ourselves, there was no deaths that occurred, and this one was this tragedy, but our transmission line did get hit with our tornado on the first event that we had, and we had 3 poles that were down. Our system was in an emergency situation, because even though we had all of our lights out, we had crews that came in that helped us from South Texas and Electric Co-op for our transmission to help us restore that. When we do have contingency plans in place, we augment our crews, but when it's a valley impact, and because of our proximity to the neighboring utilities, it sometimes takes a while to make sure we get those crews in place. And our staff, if you see them, because they have been working tirelessly around the clock, and they've been hit back to back to back, 3 storms in a row, this 4th one right now. And sometimes, we can't foresee where lightning strike is going to hit, and unfortunately it does hit, goes into one of the high schools, and it does hit our system. So I just wanted to give that.
Do we have an internal grant writer, or are we going outside to hire somebody to do the grant?
We have one internal grant writer, and he reports to Monica, and Monica can talk about all of the activities that that department does, and he's very actively pursuing bunches of grants at once. And so it's not like he's standing idle. And he was just looking for my signature today, right now, for some of the other submittals on this. It's a potential of $250 million for our community, and not just for us, for Brownsville, but for our neighboring utilities as well, for system resiliency. And so for all of the Gulf Coast region, as a matter of fact. And so, but that's something, of course, with any grants, it still needs to go once allocated to the board for approval to ensure that they want to have those projects. And so we have in our CIP, some of them identified what we do. And so those are the ones that are submitted, others that help just for resiliency. So depending on the grant that's available, we pursue a lot of the options. We've also submitted grants for our expansion of our SRWA, which is our desalination plant that you'll be doing a tour. And for that is, to less dependence on surface water for brackish water systems. And so the intent is to have at least 50% of our routes for the whole city of Brownsville and the neighboring communities, because as you know, we're not the only owners of that plant. We share that plant with the Brownsville Navigation District for City of Los Fresnos, Indian Lake, and also Valley Med. And so it's not just the city of Brownsville who's benefiting, but the surrounding areas and who's benefiting from that plant.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilby.
Our next meeting is slated for June 21st. And if we don't have any other business, I'll go ahead and call this meeting adjourned. We don't have a quorum, so I'm not going to take a motion. But thank you for everybody for being here. We appreciate that. And see you next month.
Thank you.